her sister, Hope. They moved to Port Arthur in about 1890, and her dad, JJ, he was a carpenter. After they'd been there for about a year or so, Rose and Hope and their mom, they caught a train to Winnipeg to see a relative, apparently. And trains then were mixed rates. It was the middle of winter. To make a long story short, there was a train accident, and the flat deck in front of the passenger car had a rail on it, and the length of rail came through the passenger car and impaled my grandmother's mother. She was the only injury in the accident, and she died on the spot. At that point, I'm not sure who took over my grandmother and her sister, but their father, JJ, he got a sleigh and horse, being in the middle of winter, and rode up to the accident site, which is somewhere between Port Arthur and Rat Portage, which later changed its name to Kenora in about 1903. And he rode over in the sleigh to get his wife, and the kids got shipped back to Port Arthur. So he packed up the sleigh, put his wife on it, rode back home, and of course they did not really have organized roads in those eras. Frozen lakes were a common source of transportation. And the sleigh, horse, her father and her mother went through the ice and were never seen again. And by this point she was about 8 years old. And I don't really know too much of my grandmother's history until about 1910. She finally met her husband, Harry, who proceeded to have 7 children, one being my father. So the story has gotten filled out for me a bit more since then. And again, events like this are places that can share stories, and I just wanted to share that with you as well. Now, continuing on with our afternoon. Anne DeGrace has been talking with us a couple of times before, and she's going to come read again from her latest book, which is Sounding Line, which I incidentally just finished recently and loved it immensely. So I would invite Anne to come up and share some story of her story with us.
Does the secretary want to come up?
Heather's been for feminism in the Silicon Valley.
Stories today. We've had relatives crashing through ice, and we've had trappers dying and spiders dying. And this is not a local story. I feel like a bit of an imposter. I'm a local person, though. I've been here for 30 years, which doesn't even touch Jack, but it's,
it's a start.
It's a start. Some days I'll be able to stand from here and people will actually believe me instead of from away. And so, as far as the Maritime is concerned, which is where my book takes place, everybody's from away unless they were born and raised there for the last 10 generations. And so I'm actually writing the story as one from away. But they let me, which was nice of them. And actually there is also, involves a death in this story as well. In 1967 in Shag Harbor, Nova Scotia, something crashed into the harbor. That particular evening, October 4th, at 11 o'clock, and through the evening, there were sightings of strange lights all up and down the South Shore. And if you are a Google type person and you Google this, it will come up all over the internet. It was one of Canada's most significant UFO events, was especially this thing that came into the harbor of Shag Harbor. We have a summer cottage, and I've got lots of Nova Scotia roots. We used to drive through the lighthouse route in the South Shore when we would go through Shag Harbor. My dad would say something about, look for aliens, kids, because by then we were probably off the wall, because we'd been driving for 2 days from Ottawa, and we were getting close. And so we'd always look for aliens, but we never really knew why. And it wasn't until much later that I actually knew the story as a Shag Harbor UFO crash. Now, to this day, people in Shag Harbor many will say, it was during the Cold War. Anything could have come down of that harbor. There were lots that believed it was some sort of Russian space junk or some kind of conspiracy. There was a Russian sub sitting offshore. And there's others who believe that we were visited by extraterrestrial beings. And certainly it's a mysterious thing, because nothing ever came up, but lots of people saw it come down there, the evidence was there. And the town became a media vortex. There was this, well, the CDC was there, so it had to be true, right? And CDC and Canadian military, and rumors of U.S. Navy divers that still weren't substantiated, and of course the Coast Guard, the RCMP, and everything was cordoned off, and nobody said anything to the people in the town. So I took that as the, this being sort of the maritime theme, as the aft story, if you will, of the UFO, and it was, for me, it was a way to use that sort of mystery as a counterpoint to sort of mysteries of life, I guess. Boy, that sounds lofty. But I'm going to tell you a bit about the fourth story, and then I'm going to read 4 short pieces that will make a bit of a story of their own. So in the story we have Pocket Snow. Everybody in this neck of the woods has a nickname for the most part. And Pocket is 16, and his mother Merle is dying of cancer. His father is Wolf, and Wolf has taken it upon himself, as in a way lots of men that I know, lots of people that I know will get involved in a project rather than deal with what's at hand. And he's decided he's going to rebuild the kitchen for his wife at this moment because she's always wanted new cupboard doors and cupboards. And Uncle Scratch is there as well, just helping out with the family. And the other people you'll hear in this little excerpt are Cuff, he's the local bad boy, and Ernie. And in the portion that I'll read, they've just come from drinking over at the Legion, and as they stop and park at the wharf, they see something come down into the water. But just prior to that, they've had an argument. Cuff has said something fairly nasty about Ernie's sister, Debbie, and Ernie has stomped off, and it's after this that this thing comes down. So there's sort of a sandwich happening here. The first bit I'll read is kind of an otherworldly voice. Gives you a snapshot of what's happening, and then there'll be 2 short pieces, one about Cuff and one about Pocket, and then kind of a wrap-up piece. Glasses. Boy. There we go. The tang of salt, diminished by the autumn chill, is so much a part of you that you scarcely notice it. But it's there just the same, like the coat on your back. Necessary, comforting. The sound of the foghorn travels across a still sea. When you first stepped outside, your hand pausing on the latch of the open door you left behind lamp glow, the clatter of teacup on saucer and the creak of plank floors, past generations murmuring unfinished conversations. Now, in the remarkable dark of this night, you feel them following you, whispers you can't quite catch. As you walk along the narrow road towards the government wharf, outdoor drying racks loom like gallows under the single lamp swinging ghostly in the fog. Here and there along the road are houses, yellow lights spilling out. The fog squats above the water. Tongues of light from the Irish moss plants send beacons over the ink-black sea. You step onto the wharf, the sound of your boots accompanied by the soft roll of wave after wave on Pebble Beach. At the end of the wharf, you stand and watch as the fog retreats as if it was being pulled by some hand you can't see. It surprises you in its abruptness and in the sudden, startling clarity of stars on the dark plain of the sea. That's when you see them. Lights above the surface of the sea. It could be an aircraft that is flying awfully low. Someone in trouble, maybe. Peering, you see a third light, a fourth. The lights glow orange-red, not the red of an aircraft at all, something different. They blink, one, then another, and another, in sequence. You can't tell if the lights you see are part of something larger or entities unto themselves, maybe farther in the distance than you first thought, and you squint. But the cold air makes your eyes tear up and you can't be sure. You think about calling somebody. Who? What would you say? And this is when you notice the sound of your breathing, of the waves. Behind you on the highway, a car. Someone out late, a world away from you, standing as you are in the chill night air and the impossible dark of the sea all around you. There was something about sound, a thought you had, something you hadn't quite figured out. It flutters around you like a moth just out of reach. There are the lights, closer now, floating low above the harbor surface. Again you peer and try to make out the dark shape to which they must be attached, strain to discern a wingtip. Something is missing. What? There is the sound of the car as it fades, the sound of your own breathing, the gentle wash of waves in the dark. The lights are closer now, and then you realize there is no sound of aircraft, no roar of engines, no sound at all. At the phone booth under the light outside Crosby's General Store, Cuff shouted into the receiver as if he was sure the listener was stone deaf. "I'm over to Perry's. At the store, I saw something. I think it was an airplane or something. Come right down into the harbor. Orange lights. Maybe they was blinking, I don't know. They was flying in low and then they hit the water and they floated there for about 5 minutes. Yeah, about that long. Then they went under, I guess, disappeared anyways." "What?" "I told you. Cuff Dawes." "Yeah, Stanley's son." "Yeah." "What?" No, I haven't." "Okay, maybe one, but that was ages ago." "I'm not drunk. I swear to God, stack of Bibles, I told you what I saw." "Yeah, okay, hold on." Cuff waited, shivering. He wasn't all that warmly dressed up, and it didn't seem to matter when he was pressed up against Brenda Corbett behind the hall, which was where he saw Ernie's sister Debbie with Joshua Smith, which ticked him off because he'd had a thing for Debbie ever since 5th grade, and now here she was with that stuck-up idiot from the passage, the one with the new chef and his father's lobster license. Yeah, I'm still here. I haven't gone nowhere. Stayed right here like you told me." "Right. Orange lights. 4 of them, blinking. Came right down to the harbor. Couldn't have gone anywhere else, nowhere else to go. Didn't I say blinking? Well, they were. I told you. I'm cold sober. Swear." "Really? Okay." Another call. So he wasn't the only one. Imagine Charlie Brown suspecting alcohol if Cuff didn't know what he'd seen. The cop wasn't that much older than Cuff, graduated with Cuff's cousin Wally in '61, and here he was talking to Cuff like he was some kid. Above the phone, a shaky hand had scratched a girl's name and a phone number, not one he recognized. Reaching, he found the pen still attached to its cord dangling below the phone. Under the number he wrote, "Debbie Morton for a good time, 32662. He felt in the coin return for change, but found only a wad of chewing gum. Where the hell was Charlie? Cuff pranced from foot to foot for a couple of minutes before registering that, besides being cold, he needed to take a leap. As he pissed against a rock, he kept one eye on the road in case Charlie had decided to drop everything and come like he should have done in the first place instead of leaving him hanging around like this. When he zipped up, he took a few quick strides towards the harbor, straining to see past the pilings of the lobster pound. The phone rang and Cuff sprinted back, catching the receiver up on the 3rd ring. This time Charlie was back right away, firing questions. Cuff felt his chest expand at the new attitude of seriousness, his role in it all. Still, he couldn't take his eyes off the harbor. There must be something out there. Something would have to come up from whatever went down. "Don't you think you just get over here? I mean, I can't see the place that went down from where I'm standing here at the phone. Could be anything going on out there. We need to get some boats out. You gotta call. Phone's out at our place. You know Donnie Norris? Call Will Snow or Donnie Norris or tailgate. His boat's ready to go. Saw him bring it in earlier." "No, just me. I was with Ernie Morton, but he left before. And there was another guy on the wharf. I don't know, maybe Pocket Snow. I just saw his back, that's all." "Yeah? Yeah, okay." "Stay by the phone," Charlie had told him. The last thing Cuff wanted to do. He felt in his jacket for another dime, but who would he call? Maybe it was nothing. He wished Ernie was here, or someone to joke around with. He walked a few steps and peered out over the black, still surface of Perry's harbor. It's very strange, he thought, that's for sure. It must have been past 11:30 when Pocket turned up the path, but what should have been a sleeping house was instead a blaze of light. His breath caught, fear rising. Something must be wrong. His mother. As he approached, he heard the unmistakable sound of hammering. Now? "Pocket, where was you?" Wilf asked jovially, not looking around from where he stood halfway up the stepladder. He wrenched the crowbar, pulling the old plywood cover another inch from the wall. Pocket stood in the doorway trying to make sense of the scene. But, "Saw something right strange," he said. "Whatever was going on here could wait." Strange, I guess. Your father's taken it into his head to start renovating the kitchen, said Scratch from the kitchen table where he sat, barely visible behind stacks of dishes piled on the oilcloth cover. In his uncle's hand was a coffee mug of dry whiskey. Pocket could smell it from the doorway. Down to the harbor, I saw, Pocket tried again. Your mother's always wanted a new kitchen. Will Frenched again, and the cover came away from the wall. Scratch caught the corner with a long arm and one fluid movement from his seat, toppling the wooden kitchen chair in the process. Pocket grabbed the chair and sat down on it. The other 3 chairs were stacked with dishes. Been asking for it for years, Will said, grunting. Don't know why I didn't get around to it till now. Wilf had the crowbar at the far end now, the nail squeaking loose from the wallboard. Gonna build new ones, he said, grinning at his son. He'd been drinking too, Pocket could tell. Maybe you should have built them before you pulled off the old ones, Pocket offered. Place looks rim-racked. Anyways, listen. Wilf and Scratch exchanged glances. That's what happens when you send to school, Scratch said after a moment. They get all logical on you. He turned to Pocket. Hold this, would you? Pocket grabbed the loosened corner while his dad gave a final wrench. Together they eased the cover to the floor. When Pocket straightened up, his uncle was handing him a mug. Watered it down some, he said, more to Wilf than to Pocket. He's looking a little shaky tonight. You're not listening. Pocket took a swallow and coughed when the fire hit his throat. Hot, he choked, and both men laughed. You're not listening, he croaked, trying again. But the truth was, whatever he'd seen was starting to seem unreal. He thought it was a plane of some kind, but wouldn't there be a noise, an explosion? There was. Will's eyes were back on his project. In some places, the wrenching of the cupboards had pulled away the old wallboard. Might need a new wall, he allowed. Taking a break, he wheezed, moving a stack of dishes from the closest chair and setting them on the floor. Scratch followed suit, and both men sat heavily. Cheers, Will said. Then, hey, you do look kind of shaky. Where'd you say it was again? Pocket found his voice from under the whiskey. I said, down to the wharf. Saw something. Saw what? Don't know exactly. Lights, I guess. Something came down to the harbor. Maybe a plane, I don't know, but it didn't sound like one. Can't be the only one who saw it. Crashed? Yeah, must have. You sure? Yeah, But Wilf was already pulling on his jacket, stepping into his boots. Scratch stood up, was in the hallway and pulling on his own boots almost as quickly. You going out? Pocket asked, surprised. Uncle Scratch didn't go out on the water anymore. A plane goes down, you go, Scratch replied. That's all. Don't know why you didn't tell us straight away. I didn't say it was a plane. Pocket remembered the absence of sound, and in his mind implied the roar of engines. Had it been there or not? Pushing an arm into a coat sleeve, Pocket's father turned to him. You stay. There'll be a few down there already. Dad, wait. No, you stay with your mother. Someone has to stay with her. When the door shut, Pocket sat with his mug of watered whiskey in the wreckage of the kitchen. The flower-patterned curtains his mother had sewn years ago for want of covered doors were crumpled in the corner. The boat's running lights cut through the dark, so black that without them you wouldn't be able to tell water from air or see if Kettle Island is port, starboard, or right under your bow. Stars above, stars below, nothing to tell you where the sky stops and the sea starts. Other lights cut the water. Cape Island fishing boats converging on the spot where the thing went down. This is what you do when you live by the sea, the unspoken rule. Someone needs help, everyone goes. It could be you next time, under all that darkness. At the dock, they said, untying ropes, priming engines, that might be nothing, just those hooligans over from the island setting off flares. Fun of an evening, that's all. Flares on the water, the colors, the reflection could be confusing if you were near the water late at night. Maybe a prank is all it was, but when the call came, everyone went out. You just never know. There's a taste of salt on your lips. You can feel your hair go stiff with it as the spray comes up from the bow. As motors are cut, one, another, the absence of sound roars. On the deck are cables and ropes, nets and winches sliding with a sudden downshift in speed. The boats are all drifting now towards a compass point, dead quiet. That's when you hear an exclamation, not so much a shout as a loud exhale. Jesus, Mother. You peer ahead, but there's nothing but black beyond the reach of the boat's light. And then you see it on the water's surface. a swath of bright yellow foam, unlike any sea foam you've ever seen. Glowing almost, although it may just be the effect of the light. You get strange effects sometimes out of the water. A call now from the closest boat. See anything? Anything come up? Further away, a call across the water. Anybody out there? And you can sense the collective intake of breath as every ear strains for a cry for help. All you can hear is a slap of waves on the side of your boat. We're going closer, someone calls, but nobody moves. Nobody wants to put his boat through that foam. You think something would come up out of that? Somebody has to make a move. You can't just sit there all night. So you start the motor. Let the boat idle forwards towards the foam. And when the stuff is right there at the bow, you swing the wheel so it's the stern of the stuff, the boat's lowest point. Then you take the net, the one with the longest handle, and you reach out with it as far as you can, chest against the gunwale, boat's wedged against a rope coil. It's when you put your net into it, try to bring some of it up for a closer look, that the chill comes over you. There's nothing in the net at all. From the Black Sea around you, voices. Oh, I'm going in. Wait, we should wait, see if something comes up. There may yet be survivors. Wouldn't want to come out of that to nobody. But it's been half an hour since you got there, more than an hour since whatever it was went down. You watch as the Coast Guard trains a beam across the sea, but there is nothing but yellow foam drifting. Around you, motors are starting up. Already 1 or 2 boats are back at the wharf, pulling into their berths. There's nothing more to be done. You head back the way you came, towards lights and home. The feeling of relief as you move away from that spot is palpable. Later, you think of the men who had gone out, now home and tossing sleepless in their own beds. You draw the blankets higher and shiver, knowing that if something fell into the dark waters of the Sound, it must be there still.